This clip is sponsored by Med Travelers. If you're an SLP interested in travel therapy, visit medtravelers.com to get started. And do you come across where I feel like sometimes people confuse listening with really understanding? And so I know, I've asked parents, how do you feel like they understand? And I think they think, oh, well, they can hear me. Yeah, but they don't understand, until I really break it down, what the difference is. So how do you ever come across that with parents and teachers? And if you do, how do you address that?
Yeah, that's a good question, because when it comes to listening versus comprehension, obviously it's different. And so I think what happens the most often is that parents will assume that the child is just willfully not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or they're being willfully defiant or lazy or whatever it is. And it might be just because they don't understand what they're supposed to do. They're not understanding the language. Whatever is being said is too wordy, and they're not really understanding where the breakdown is happening. So that's definitely common. And it's unfortunate, because then sometimes kids will get in trouble because people will think, and sometimes teachers too. I think I worked with a lot of teachers who, especially as I developed a relationship with them and they knew what I did, they got better at saying, hey, this student is always a couple steps behind the other students. And they would come and ask me, and they would make a referral. But it definitely took a while to get to that point. And there were some teachers who wouldn't always know that and would say, would think that they're just not following directions. And then they'd get a little whatever their behavior system was, the mark on their chart or something like that.
The red paper clip. The red paper clip.
The clip, yes. There were a lot of the paper clips, which
are not clothespins. That's what it is.
Yes. And that could be a whole other conversation there. But I think that was one of the biggest places where people would get confused. And then also, obviously, there's all kinds of things with body language and things like that, because sometimes kids are comprehending, but maybe just their body language is not necessarily showing it. Also a total separate conversation.
Yes, that's for another podcast, but you're exactly right.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. And then another one of my least favorite is where I just have to, inside cringe a little. Well, they're just lazy. It's like, no, they just don't understand. Yeah. I'm like, if somebody was speaking to you in another language and asking you to do something and you're not doing it, and they say, well, see, you're just lazy. It's like, no, I don't understand what you're saying. So, So it sounds like too, that really, that's where SLPs being those educators and helping those parents and teachers understand that, no, it's not defiance. It's not lazy. This is what's going on, and then giving them ways to treat it. And I think too, it probably, in your experience too, with older students, it seems like it would help and almost be a little bit empowering for them to understand, because I'm sure they think, well, what is wrong with me? Maybe I am lazy. Maybe I am, but they just don't understand.
Yeah, that's huge, because what happens is that there is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy where they do have a harder time engaging in activities that they know are going to be hard. So you do see some avoidance, but they don't have any evidence in their mind about why they would be successful with that. And why would you want to do something if you know it's going to be hard for you, if you know you're going to get in trouble, if you know that you're not going to get any help? I mean, that's a natural human tendency to avoid uncomfortable situations. And so if you have no experience of success with that, it's going to be really hard. You're going to avoid it. And that's why we see there's the Matthew effect with reading, where kids who have a low vocabulary, it's harder to comprehend what you're reading. So that means that reading is hard. So you don't want to read. So you're reading less. Well, how do you build vocabulary? Through reading. Yeah. And so then these other kids who like reading because they're good at it, they've been successful, they're reading more. And so the gap is widening so much. And so it's really hard to break that cycle if there's not a clear understanding of what's going on. And that's one of the reasons why the Matthew effect happens. It's kind of like it's kind of a catch-22 in a way.
Yeah, no, and it makes perfect sense when you're saying it. It's like, yeah, of course, I'm envisioning all these students. I'm sure other SLPs are as well.